Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sarel van Grennen, aka Mr. VG, and we are now at the place where we are going to start looking at practical applications of simple interest. Practical applications of percentage. When we look at practical applications of percentage, it is very, very simple to understand that finances is going to be the foundation of the rest of your life. The biggest fights in all marriages happen about finances. Of course, there are exceptions to the rules, so maybe I mustn't say in all marriages, but in most marriages, your biggest fight is about finances. The reason is, for us people, money is part of who you are. Money is such an integral part of how we see ourselves. Scary, but true. When we have a look at investing money in a bank, and this is a wonderful exercise for you to understand how interest works. Let's say I take 200 Rand and I invest it in a bank. The bank is not just going to keep it there. It's not just going to say, oh yeah, at the end of the year I give you back 200 Rand. Well, then you might as well just keep it in your mattress. What's the bank going to say? Okay, I'll give you the 200 Rand back, but I'll add a little bit of interest for you. Sweeten up the deal. Now you're like, ooh, if I invest this 200 Rand, then I'm going to get a little bit more back. This sounds good. But remember, the bank doesn't actually keep your 200 Rand. It actually loans the 200 Rand out to someone else, and then at the end of the year, that person has to pay the 200 Rand back plus interest. Now, I've very, very simplified this, the whole banking system, because there's much bigger players involved like reserve banks and investment companies as well. But this is a very, very simple model of how the banking system actually works. So when we look at this, where the banks make a lot of their profit is that they are only going to give you interest of, let's say, 4% per year when you invest. So let's have a look at how much interest you are actually going to earn. So if I take that 200 Rand and I multiply it by 4%, that means I'm going to earn 8 Rand worth of interest in the 1 year. If I look at 8%, that means my balance at the end of the year is going to be 200 Rand plus my 8% interest. So at the end of the year, I'm going to have 208 Rand. That is as simple and as easy as that. Now, where the banks make a lot of their money, ladies and gentlemen, is that they won't just charge the other person 4% interest. If we look on the right-hand side, they are a bunch of clever cookies. They say, okay, we'll loan you that 200 Rand, but our interest rate is, let's say, 25% per year. That's a big difference. 21% difference between what they give to the client on the left versus what the client pays them on the right. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, if I look at the interest that you are going to be charged, now it's 25% of 200, which means that at the end of that year, that person on the right-hand side is going to have a balance which they have to repay the bank, of 200 plus 50, which is a whopping 250 rand that they've got to repay. So at the end of the year, look at what that person on the right-hand side pays to the bank, 250 rand. But they only have to give you back 208 rand, which means the bank is making a lacquer profit of 42 rand. Man, that is a lot of money. Now, you might say, oh, sir, it's just 42 rand. Put a bunch of zeros behind that. Because remember, people don't just invest 200 rand. Companies invest hundreds of thousands and millions and billions into their banking systems. Then all of a sudden, if I put a bunch of zeros behind that bank profit, oh my hat, ladies and gentlemen, the banks can make a lot of profit. I remember being on the airplane about 8 or 9 years ago. And Barclays, who was at that stage the owner of Absa, recorded a 6-month profit. So that is there after they paid expenses. Just the difference between the income and the expenses in their business was 2 billion pounds. 2 billion pounds. Multiply that by about 20. That's 40 billion rand in 6 months. That's why they can sponsor the Premier League, for instance. And all banks, financial institutions, international, are making so much. They're making so much money because people want to loan more than they save. The scary statistics are that in South Africa, less than 30% of people are actively saving towards their retirement. That means 70% of the working people in South Africa are basically just going to stand in a queue with their hands in front of them going for the government, please give me money. I didn't save up for my retirement. Or maybe go to their kids and go, you must look after me. It's a big problem in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next video, we are going to look at not just interest, but simple interest applications. So when I invest for more than just 1 year. I hope that you enjoyed this bit of a video into the financial systems and why you've got to stay away from loans as far as you can. The only loans I would advise you to look at one day is maybe a home loan or a car loan, but please within reason, okay? Please get in the habit of saving instead of loaning. This is Mr. VG signing out. Keep well. Cheers.